So today we're going to talk about the shoe dilemma, because depending on who you ask, you either should be loading your feet into thick, padded, cushiony shoes, or you shouldn't put anything on your feet at all. Now the first group that says pack them in, right, those guys have been saying it for about the last 40 years or so, like especially if you look at running, the running world, the whole running shoe craze is since the 70s. On the other side of the fence, you've got people like, I don't know, evolutionary biologists at Harvard who argue that for the last million years or so, people and our ancestors have been doing endurance distance running barefoot. So no shoes. So shoes or no shoes? What are you going to put on tomorrow morning when you get out of bed? That's the question. And when you think about it like this, right? Think about the last movie that you went to go see in the movie theater when you were interested in some visual entertainment. Did you wear a blindfold to that? Or the last time you went to the symphony, did you put on noise-canceling headphones? Or even more ridiculous, right? Your favorite food. When you go to eat your favorite food, do you wrap your tongue up in gauze so you can't taste it? So you don't do any of that stuff. So why would you encase your feet in something that completely restricts them from being able to feel? In other words, the stiffer and more padded and more cushiony your shoes are, the less they can move with your feet, right? The more obscured your vision is, the less you can see. The more your feet are bound up, and if you're not wearing shoes that do any of this stuff, they're bound up. It's like your tongue wrapped up in gauze when you go to eat. The more that's going on, the less you can feel, and the less contact you have with the ground, and the less your foot can move the way it was designed to do. There are almost 30 bones in the feet, just as many major muscles, and thousands of nerve endings that tell your body where it is in space, how it's making contact with the ground, and all of your movement from that chain up is dictated by that initial contact with the foot. So if your foot hits the ground like a big brick, all of that force gets shot up through the skeleton and distorts everything else. So you have these waves of force going through the body, and the more your feet can do what they're naturally designed to do, the less shock there is on the rest of your system. So a lot of this comes back to footwear. If your footwear can move, then your foot is more likely to move the way it naturally is designed to move. The wave through the foot, the wave that pressure gets distributed, is going to rely on the springs, the arches and the springs in the body to move force instead of just force on force impact. So from that point of view, from a sensory point of view, from a movement point of view, there's absolutely no reason to bind your feet down tightly with shoes that restrict movement and limit your feeling. But I know some of you are saying, well, it's genetic. I have bad feet, I have flat feet, fallen arches. It's painful when I go barefoot and when I stand still like that. And I get that. I understand that completely. But I have to tell you that most of the people that I've worked with who have come in with those kind of issues have never been taught how to systematically re-educate the proper movement of their feet. So unless you've worked with somebody like that who can teach you how to move the feet, again, the way they were designed to do, and now I'm talking about the little bones and joints in the feet, getting everything activated and going the way it's naturally designed to do from a functional point of view, right? If you haven't done that work, then you really haven't exhausted all those possibilities. And take it another way, if you take shoes like this that will facilitate that kind of movement, that can twist and bend and kind of move with what you're trying to do, right? If you take shoes like that, then you've got another great training tool. So even I understand if you, day one, you're going from your orthotics to a barefoot shoe like this, right? Obviously you can't wear it all day because you haven't educated your foot how to move in a shoe like this. So when you look at a shoe like this, say, oh, they don't work, it's too loose, I can't wear it. Have you really trained it really incrementally, built up gradually? That's kind of like saying weight training doesn't work because you go into the gym on the first day and you can't lift 500 pounds. Nobody would believe that if you told them weightlifting doesn't work. What do you mean? People lift weights all the time. Well, I tried it. I tried to bench press 500 pounds. So it's stupid. It doesn't work. Well, it's a little bit like unless you've tried a really incremental approach to getting into barefoot shoes, trying to remobilize, re-educate the feet, you haven't really exhausted your options. And so getting out of bed tomorrow morning, that's the shoe dilemma. What are you going to put on your feet? How are you going to move? And what's going to carry you through the rest of your day? And you can look at so many different movement problems: back pain, knee pain, shoulder pain, neck pain. So many of them can get traced back to frozen feet, stuck feet that aren't doing what they're supposed to do. Just because of this chain of force that moves up through your body when you're walking, when you're running, when you're just moving through your day, that it's totally worth it for everybody to invest in developing their feet, developing the mobility in the feet, and solving the shoe dilemma by re-educating your feet.